You're joining me on a very rare, sunny, warm day in northern England. And today we're going to be taking a look at a very small rod in here. This is the original pen rod from penrods.com. Link is along the bottom of the screen there. And this is the Goliath. I think it's 5 foot 2 inches. Very, very small. And also we have the deep spool fly reel. So yes, we are going to be fly fishing with this setup. Now I've tried to make these sort of setups before with the cheaper, let's be honest, inferior versions of these pen rods that come directly from China, and I just couldn't do it. They just didn't work. The line was too thick for the eyes. It was just a nightmare to get them set up, so I just resorted to using them just with ordinary nylon, and they worked pretty well, but they were only 0.9 meters, roughly 3 feet long. This one is half as big again, and I'll just give a big thanks to Ant from penrods.com who sent me this gear along with another rod and another couple of reels, because he saw the videos that I did on the Chinese versions of his creation, and he put a few comments on which I really appreciated, because they were kind of like the sort of thing that I would put on an obscure video late at night when somebody mentioned, how did you do during the COVID era or something like that, when I'm inclined just to go off on one and let them have it. So needless to say, Ant isn't a fan of what the Chinese have done with his creation. Pretty long, definitely longer than the ones we've taken a look at in previous videos, because it is longer than those ones. Okay, so the reel seat is just built into the main body of the pen rod. The reel is basically made to fit the rod, so it does fit very securely. There's no sort of drag, or certainly there's no sort of adjustable drag on this little fly reel, but it does have a certain amount of drag to it. You might just be able to hear it clicking there. And the line is in just a little loop. I haven't put a braided leader on, that wouldn't fit through the eyelets. And then the line itself, I've actually cut in half. The line that arrived was 8 meters long, and that just about fit on this tiny little reel, but I wanted a little bit more scope for catching a bigger fish on it and allowing it to run than 8 meters. So I cut the line in half, and you might just about be able to see inside of there. The backing that I've used on here is 30-pound break and strain braid, so there's quite a lot of that. I'm not entirely sure how much. If I had to take a guess, I would say maybe 20 to 25 meters of 30-pound braid on there. So effectively what I've created is something called a shooting head. And there's a lot of reservoir fishermen in the UK who'll probably be familiar with that, where you've basically got your fly line which has been shortened down, and then you're backing. So you would tend to start casting, you'd get to the limit of your fly line, you'd strip a load of backing off, and then on your final forward cast, that backing would just go shoot, it would just shoot out, and it would go a long way. Because the rod is so small, I won't use anything too heavy. That is, I think it's a reasonably big fly, maybe it's a size 12 March Brown dry fly. That should cast out quite nicely. That's put quite a good line out there. And it's not just usable, it actually feels pretty good to use it. And the line it puts out is pretty straight. I haven't got much of a back cast here, but I'll try and cast it out in line with where the camera is, and hopefully you'll be able to see it. That's lovely and straight. Oh, and we're into a fish. Get in there. Looks like a little rainbow trout. I'll get it on the reel as well. God. This is the most crippled looking bent rainbow trout I've ever seen. It's a mess of a fish. That thing, it's absolutely awful. It's a Quasimodo of the trout world. But that little rod and that tiny little reel handled it no problem at all. I'm really honestly surprised what a good line this little thing puts out. Goliath, I'm sure it's only 5'2". It really has no right to cast as well as it does, but it's got a, whoops, another bite there, but it's got a really good action to it. So there you go. I feel as if I'm a little bit like that Doug McCarter or Forged in Fire. Yeah, and your rod is a little bit unconventional, but it will catch fish. Yeah, look at that. All tucked away, neat as you like and well protected. And before I sign off for this video, I just want to point out that when you're extending the rod, don't pull it by the rings. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but with telescopic rods, a lot of people just grab them by the rings and just pull it out, and it just rips the rings off or snaps them. Always grab it below or above the ring, so always in the middle there, nowhere near the rings, for in or out, and then you're not really going to break it. And when you've got it locked away in there, you're certainly not going to break it. So there you go, the ultimate compact fly rod. I'll put a link to this in the video description and in the pinned comment, which will just be a clickable link. Just click on that, you'll go straight to the site. The site's a little bit dated, but don't worry about it. It's got everything you could possibly want on there. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, the one that I've just demonstrated here was the Goliath. 5 foot works, and I don't really know what more to say about that, other than it works, it's well made, and for the cost of it, I think it's very good value. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video where we'll be catching some nice brown trout.